Hello and welcome to IMAGE The Motherload. I'm your host, Dominique McMullan. This is the podcast for mums who work inside and outside the home. I'm IMAGE Media's editorial director and I'm mum of 2 young boys. And each week I'm joined by a guest to talk about the realities of modern motherhood and hopefully to leave you feeling a little more seen and a little less alone. You can think of us as your new village because we're here to lighten the load. Today, my guest is Laura Guckian. Laura is a mum who has built an entire career around supporting other mothers. She is a host of Mumfessions podcast and is fresh off the back of just winning Best Parenting Podcast at the British Podcast Awards. She is also a coach for mums and she runs an online village called The Village, which supports mums in a community. She is also, most importantly, a mum of 3. I'm so looking forward to this one.
I want to take a moment to thank the brands that make IMAGE The Motherload possible. IMAGE The Motherload is powered by Peugeot and sponsored by Liffey Valley, Evoca, Revive Active and Aptamil Advanced.
So we've already started talking, as I knew we would from the minute you walked in the door, but welcome Laura Guckian. How are you?
I am so delighted to be here. I was just saying it's a pleasure to be a guest on a podcast for once.
Yeah.
I can relax for the next while.
Well, not too much. No, you can relax. Make yourself comfortable. It's so nice to have you here, especially fresh off the back of your big win. Best Parenting Podcast at the British Podcast Awards.
I am literally in shock. I know people when they win awards are like, I wasn't expecting it. I have been in a state of shock for the last week. And I think for me, obviously it's a massive personal achievement, but to see a podcast like Mumfessions is all about maternal mental health, and anyone who's listened, it's deep. Like, it is literally talking about the stuff we feel as mothers that we're not supposed to talk about. So I think for that to win Best Parenting Podcast means we have come a long way.
Yeah.
And maternal mental health, as I say, is no longer whispered in clinical settings or is a niche conversation. It's mainstream.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I've been so shell-shocked all week to kind of really grasp the magnitude of that. A deep maternal mental health podcast won in the British podcast, which is hilarious.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Huge and so important. I mean, it is important work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and I'm very grateful for you for doing that. I mean, we've been in touch for years and I interviewed you, I think it was 2023, about your experience as a mother and how passionately you feel about helping other mothers to feel seen. And I'd love for you to go a bit more in depth into your story so we can have context on where it is that you've come from.
Yeah.
So tell me about even before you had kids.
Before I had kids, I was working in marketing. I lived in Dublin. I had a great life. Like, literally on paper, my husband and I lived here. We went on amazing holidays. I had great friends in Dublin. I just had an amazing time. And I suppose I, like many people, followed the rules of life. You know, you finish school, you go to college, you get the career, you get the partner, you get the house. Well, we didn't have the house at that stage. And I kind of blindly went through life. And so when we got married, the next logical step is, oh, well, we have babies. That's what you do. And I was very lucky to fall pregnant with Leo really quickly. And all through pregnancy, I was looking forward to motherhood because, I mean, we're told it's the best time of your life, you know. And for me, that just simply was not the case. I remember Leo being born in Hollow Street, just around here, which is, again, very bittersweet this morning. I look at that building and I feel very mixed feelings.
Yeah.
Some mothers might look at it and have happy memories. I look at it and I think that's trauma, like deep trauma in that building for me. So had Leo, and I remember so vividly, he was handed to me and it was like a light switch went off. And I was like, I don't feel this gush of love. Where's this gush of love they spoke of? Okay, I must be a terrible mother. I must be doing something wrong. And instead of the joy I was told I'd feel, I spent my days in Hollow Street crying and being terrified and going, I don't like this. Did I make the wrong decision? And it never improved from that point on. You know, when you look at their people with their partners leaving the hospital with the baby carrier and it's this peaceful photo. I remember my husband and I leaving with Leo. He was screaming. It was like, he's like, our parking meter is almost up. We were legging it out of Hollow Street. And I just literally did not have the experience that I was promised. And then I suppose from there...
Can we stay in Holles Street for a minute?
Holles Street, yeah.
Because I'm always fascinated by people's experience in maternity hospitals. I do think they're like another realm, you know, that people feel such huge kind of feelings and emotions physically and everything. How was the birth, first of all?
Birth was fine.
Okay.
Like, I had a relatively good pregnancy. I had a few small complications, but like, as a whole, pregnancy was good. Pregnancy suits me.
Yeah.
Labour and delivery. I went into labour at 38 weeks plus 4. Like, it was, my first delivery was probably my easiest.
Okay.
And it just went downhill, honestly, the minute he was handed to me.
Yeah.
And I probably didn't have, and this is the first time I've ever publicly said I had my baby in Holles Street. I didn't have a good experience there.
Okay.
They weren't very nice. Looking back now, I was such a vulnerable new mother. I was trying to breastfeed. I couldn't because, I mean, we're told breast is best.
So
I get in trouble for this. Breast is not always best. And I had the worst midwife who was like, you clearly didn't do the courses or read the books. And I was like, I did them all. I just didn't have a good experience there at all. So when I look at it now, I thought that was going to be the best few days of my life in there, but it wasn't. It was just mixed with fear and feeling unsupported and feeling judged. And that was just my experience. I'm sure, like, that was nearly 10 years ago. There's incredible people that work in Holles Street, and I just probably had bad luck with one or two of them.
But it can depend so much.
It can depend. And I'm so conscious of that. If anyone's listening, I'm sure there's amazing people that work there. I just had bad luck.
Yeah. And you know, it really depends as well on personalities and what someone needs. Different people will need different things from different midwives.
Yeah.
But to be going in, I mean, there's a failure there somewhere in the system that you're going in expecting joy and, you know, because that's not the experience.
It's a false
so
narrative
difficult.
And it's a myth. And I think we are setting mothers up to fail. And, you know, when I first started talking about maternal mental health, I was probably one of the first people in Ireland to really talk about it. Like, to really say, do you know what? There was a stage where I regretted becoming a mother, and that's okay. And I think we're doing a disservice to women and our young girls to not talk about all experiences of motherhood, because our experience of motherhood is so dependent on our unique circumstances, our privilege, our lack of privilege, the baby we have, if we're partnered up or not. Actually, none of it is down to us. But yet as women, it's our fault if we're finding it hard. And yeah, that's why I just am passionate about sharing my story and supporting mothers.
We carry so much.
Oh, so much.
So much that isn't ours, that we don't need to be carrying. So much expectation and so much guilt when the expectation doesn't live to what you imagine.
The guilt needs to go.
Yeah. So talk to me about when you get home then, what you start to feel like.
Yeah, so got home and I remember, like, it was probably a few days into it, I was delirious. You know, we all know the sleep deprivation, especially your first baby. You're like, what has just happened?
Yeah.
And like, I can even remember saying to my husband in my delirious state, do you think they'll take him back? And he was like, no, he's ours now. And I'm like, okay. I just wasn't thinking straight. But I remember having this feeling of, why would anyone do this? Yeah. Like, I know I love my baby, but this is unbelievably hard. Like, I have never experienced anything like this, and everywhere I look, all I see is happy mothers, and there must be something very wrong with me. And I suppose over the coming weeks and months, we talk a lot about mental health and when you're struggling to tell someone. Like, I was telling everyone that would listen. I was telling the GP, I was telling the nurse, and really just wasn't getting the support. I was very much kind of almost being dismissed, going, oh yeah, all babies cry. I just wasn't feeling seen or supported. And eventually when Leo was 3 months old, we found out he'd severe silent reflux. So literally anyone that has experienced that, crying 24/7, won't eat, won't sleep. So of course I was finding it hard. Like, I'm hardly going to sit in that and go, this is the best time ever. Who needs sleep? And I suppose fast forward to when he was 10 months old, it's probably where it all escalated. And, you know, I've spoken about this before and you've written about it, but there was a defining moment. It was a Sunday morning. And up until this point, I was very much like, this is really, like, this is awful. I know I'm struggling here. But the logical part of my brain was still working. I just kind of was like, we'll just get through it. This will eventually end. And I remember one Sunday morning where the logic switched off.
Wow.
And it was a very scary place because I don't want to say I'd suicidal thoughts, because it wasn't to that extreme, but it was kind of imagining, but what if this happened? Would that be the solution? And I could feel the logic going. And I was someone at the time who had been a volunteer for a maternal mental health charity. I'd been studying psychology. So I was very well placed to access support, yet I couldn't get it. And I remember ringing my best friend, and it was early on a Sunday morning, and I'm like, she's not going to pick up, because she wasn't a mum at the time. And she picked up, and she's just like, Laura, are you okay? She just knew. And I'm like, Claire, I'm not. I'm really not. And she was the one that actually arranged for me to go to a psychiatric hospital. She was like, you go to your GP, you ask this. And sure enough, a few days later, I voluntarily checked myself into a psychiatric hospital, which sounds very dramatic. And it was at the time. And I spent over 2 months there. And left and still wasn't fully okay.
That moment when you're feeling logic switching off, especially for someone who is educated on maternal mental health and studying psychology. I mean, were you aware of what was happening?
I was aware, I was aware, because I think anyone who's experienced this, you can, and I think sometimes we all do it, not when you're deeply struggling with your mental health, but even if you're just going through a hard chapter in life, where you might fantasize over, oh, wouldn't it be lovely to be on a holiday, or wouldn't it be? And I think in the early months, I had this fantasy of, imagine if I just got my passport and went to Dublin Airport and didn't come back.
Oh yeah, I've had that fantasy.
I mean, I think every mother has had that, right? The difference was, this was changing to more, what if I just wasn't here anymore? And normally when that thought would come, the logical part of your brain kicks in and goes, but that's not the solution. And your logical part of your brain goes, okay, but I couldn't find the logic that morning. And I think because I was in a position where I'd been studying psychology and worked with a maternal mental health charity, so I kind of had that experience, I caught it. And not everyone does. And I think that is why suicide is the leading cause of maternal death. Like it is, because we're incredibly vulnerable, and not everyone is in the position I was in to go, no, I see the logic isn't there, and that's not the solution.
It's such a frightening thing to think about. And you know, admission from me here, I have had moments. I had a particularly bad period also, actually, when my youngest was around 10 months and my dad was very sick. And I can remember vividly driving the car and thinking I could just not turn and there was a wall. You know, and having that thought is terrifying.
It's terrifying. And we need to talk about it more, Dominique, because so many women have it and they never share it. And I can speak about it openly now because this is my life now. And I don't hold any shame for that or guilt. No. I just wasn't supported. And I think if you placed any other woman in the situation I was placed in, she would have exactly the same reaction.
And you were talking to people. I mean, the fact that you were telling people how you were feeling and people weren't doing anything and dismissing you and saying it's hard and babies cry. And I mean, that to me is so many red flags and warning signs ringing left, right and centre.
Now that was 9 years ago. So I would hope.
That's my question. Do you think things have changed?
I would hope so, but I know through supporting the mothers that I support, not really. There's kind of this dangerous positive optimism of, oh sure, they're only young ones, enjoy every moment. Like, and you just want to scream at these people and go, I'm allowed to find this hard. I can find this hard and love my children. Like I can want to escape to Dublin Airport and not come back and be grateful I'm a mother. Like the two feelings can coexist. And it's the most damaging narrative out there. And you see it everywhere. And I'm so attuned into it with brands now. You know, the good mum. Like the good mum is a myth. That was created by patriarchal motherhood. It's a myth. There's no such thing as a good mum. There's such thing as a happy mother and, you know, a not so happy mother. But there's so much damage around the narrative of motherhood. And I really believe that is one of the main drivers of, you know, our maternal mental health challenges.
It's something that I, after doing like 2 or 3 years of therapy, is that I've learned, and I think it's a real key tenet of just any self-reflection, is that you can have two feelings at the same time. And people are so unaware of that you can have two, you know, diametrically opposing feelings, and that it's okay to have both of them and to recognize both of them.
And if you flip it in reverse, if you look at my situation, like just imagine this, you're a new mom, you have a baby who's severe silent reflux, you haven't slept, they're screaming all day, you can't even go for a walk. I mean, I think it would be unhealthy to sit there and go, this is amazing.
I'm having a great time.
I think I would then be questioning going, that's not okay.
Yeah.
This is supposed to feel hard.
Yeah.
Because if you're not finding that hard, what are you blocking out? That's what I'd be more concerned about.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you checked in to the psychiatric hospital. Yes. Were you on your own then?
I was on my own. And honestly, I was so delighted to be there. Yeah. And if you think of any time in early motherhood where you were completely sleep deprived, I was just like, I'm going to get a full night's sleep here. I was delighted to be there. And people find that really strange. And, you know, disclaimer, it was a private psychiatric hospital. So I'm sure that was probably different to, you know, maybe a public psychiatric ward. But my time there was very pleasant. And it was a really humbling experience because I met so many people, many of whom were mothers.
Yeah.
And what struck me about my time there, you know, if you're in a psychiatric hospital, it's kind of this thing of, why are you here? Like, you know, what's your diagnosis? And I didn't have one. Yeah. So when I initially went in, they were like, oh, clear cut, this is postnatal depression. And that's what I thought it was. But as they observed me, so you kind of have this, to give an insight, you have like a multidisciplinary team. You've your consultant psychiatrist, you've a psychologist, you've a nurse, you've this group of people. And their goal is to figure out why you're here before they can start supporting you.
Okay.
So they were like doing assessments, observations. I was on medication. And after a few weeks, they were like, this is not postnatal depression. We don't really know what's going on here. Like the drugs are not making any difference to you. And at that stage, I was saying, I'm actually starting to feel a bit better because I was resting. I remember like I'd lock myself into my room and watch Netflix. And to them, they were like, she's getting worse. And I'm like, I'm actually getting better. And I left that hospital with no diagnosis.
Wow.
And just sort of we don't really know what happened, but, you know, off you go. And, you know, there was kind of a program of support for me, but not really. It was basically go find a therapist. And I remember leaving that hospital that day, my husband picking me up. And I was like, this is terrifying. I don't want to leave. I didn't get my why. Like, why did I end up here? How does a perfectly healthy woman end up here? And essentially, we had to leave Dublin and move back to my hometown in Tipperary. My marketing career fell apart, was gone. And for the next 3 years, I basically had to rebuild my life piece by piece. I became almost a child again. I was back in my hometown. I relied on my parents for everything. And it was awful. Like, it was absolutely horrendous.
And you've said there were a lot of mums.
Yeah.
Were they also in the same situation as you?
Yeah, so it was mums. This is really interesting. New mums like me, but then there was mums with teenage kids. And the interesting thing, Dominique, is they were all saying, I don't know why I'm here either.
Wow.
And now I have a theory on why they were there. They didn't have their diagnosis. And by diagnosis, I mean, you know, in a psychiatric hospital setting, you'll have people that may be diagnosed with bipolar, you know, and they'll come in and out and they'll kind of regulate their drugs and support them. And then they're okay to leave again.
Yeah.
But when you don't have a diagnosis, it's a weird place to be. It's kind of, why are we here? Why are we here?
Wow. And you yourself were recently diagnosed.
Yes.
Yeah.
So again, this is back to my why. I didn't give up searching for why. Why did I end up there? And fast forward a couple of years later, realized my son Alex, who arrived, wasn't talking. And I knew nothing about autism. I'm like, why isn't he talking? He's 18 months old. What's going on? And I hired a very reputable speech and language therapist to come into our home. And at the time, my third child, Anna, was 10 days old. And I remember holding her and being like, why isn't he talking? And she was calling his name and he wouldn't respond. And I was like, see, he's not responding. And I remember looking her in the eye and going, could he be autistic? And she's like, absolutely not. And again, the logical part of my brain was like, well, she's the expert. But the mother part of me was like, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. So sure enough, Alex is autistic.
Okay.
And the more I learned about it, I learned it can be genetic. And I said, well, if he's autistic, could Leo be? Now they're chalk and cheese. Leo met all his milestones, never had any delays, social butterfly, fought to get him a private assessment. He's autistic. So then I was like, well, if Leo's autistic, I must be autistic. And I remember reaching back out to a psychologist I'd worked with. and said, was there anything I may have disclosed that made you feel like I could be autistic? She's like, absolutely not. I rang up the psychiatric hospital and I said, did you assess me for autism? They said, we don't assess for that. And I'm like, what?
That's mad.
Yeah. They were like, we can tell you without even looking at your file, we don't assess for that. Now, they may now, but they didn't. I got assessed. I'm autistic. Also turns out I have ADHD. So all of my children are autistic. I'm autistic, and Leo and I also have ADHD.
Wow.
And I believe that is why when I became a mother, like my life just exploded. I could not deal with it. And I believe that's why a lot of mothers struggle and still don't know the reason why is because they're neurodivergent.
Yeah. I mean, there is a huge rise, obviously, in neurodivergent, there isn't a huge rise in neurodivergence. There's a huge rise in diagnoses of neurodivergence. It's always been there. But that's fascinating. I've never thought about it before because, of course, someone who has neurodivergence, the chaos of early motherhood would be...
We can't deal. And actually, like 40%, now this is some stat for you, 40% of the women I have supported over the last few years have gone on to find out that they are neurodivergent.
Wow.
Now, I'm not qualified to diagnose them, but it's through our work. I kind of raised the flag of, have you ever considered that you might be? And to get an email for them months later after we'd worked together to go, I now know why I found it hard. So I think that's incredible. And I think it's real validation and self-compassion and forgiveness of it wasn't your fault. It's just you, of course, were going to struggle in motherhood if you're neurodivergent.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's not to say that people who are not neurodivergent are also really struggling.
Everyone struggles.
Extra layer of struggle. Yeah. Can you take me back? I do want to come back to that in a minute, especially when the kids got older and how you've dealt with that. But if we just go back to the psychiatric hospital, one thing that I think is really interesting that you kind of touched on is the difference between, and when you left the psychiatric hospital in particular, the difference between mental health and mental illness.
Yes. I'm glad you brought this up because again, I've been criticized for saying this. I was mentally ill when I went into the psychiatric hospital. Like, we all have mental health and we all have mental health challenges, and that's just the reality. But there is a big difference between struggling with your mental health and navigating a mental illness. And for me, the difference is I couldn't function. It's the difference between having maybe a cold or flu and needing to be admitted to a hospital for treatment.
Yeah.
You can't differentiate them. Like they're not the same.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes there's shame associated with saying you were mentally ill, but I was mentally ill. Like I really, really was. And I think we need to call it out for what it is. Yeah. And both need very different support. And I don't know why there's still a stigma associated with saying I was mentally ill or a mental illness. Because it is very different to struggling with your mental health. Yeah.
And that's really interesting, comparing it to like a flu or going into having to be hospitalized. That's really interesting. Like, you can be ill, you can be unwell. Yeah. Like, having a mental illness, being ill is something that is, you're sick. Like, you need to be looked after.
Yeah.
You know, and minded. And there's nothing to be ashamed of
There's
in
nothing.
That.
And like mental health, we all have it every day, and it fluctuates every day, every week, every month. And that's normal. Like, we're not supposed to go through life and go, this is amazing. We're supposed to find parts of it hard. Yeah. And we will all struggle with our mental health on a spectrum. Yeah. But we won't all become mentally ill and require care in a psychiatric hospital setting. And I'm very firm on that. There is a difference. And, you know, even with the mothers I support, I always say I'm not qualified to support a mother who is navigating a mental illness. That's something that a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a therapist needs to support. Yeah. I support mothers who are struggling with their mental health. And there is a key difference there.
Yeah. And you continued to struggle for a few years after you came out of hospital.
Yeah, so came out, really struggled, had to like take a break from my career. And I remember then thinking, will I have another child? Which was terrifying because I loved Leo so much that I wanted to give him a sibling. But I was also very aware this could happen you again, Laura. Like this really could happen you again. But I sort of made the decision out of love and going, if it does, I got through it. I'll get through it again. And I'm probably more armed this time. I know what it's about. I know how to navigate motherhood. So ended up having 2 miscarriages. And to me, which I know is not true now, that was, well, clearly that's your punishment now, Laura, for not dealing with it.
Ouch.
Which I know is nonsense, you know, but it's, again, felt so alone. Couldn't see anyone that had experienced a baby loss. Thought it was just me, which I now know not to be true, because nearly every mother I speak to, the majority will have navigated it. And sure enough, kept going and eventually got pregnant with little Alex. And Leo was probably 3.5 at the time. So there was a good gap.
Yeah.
And had that baby in Cork. And it's interesting when you say feelings about maternity hospitals. When I passed the hospital in Cork, I only have gorgeous feelings about it.
Really?
Because I had such a different experience.
Nice.
And Alex came along and I had my plan in place and I was going to be okay. And then COVID hit when he was 6 weeks old.
Oh, and you talk about how you've heard you before about creating a baby parachute, which I love just the visual of, to help you land into that. And then COVID hits.
And then I had my baby parachute, which was, you know, I had my psychologist on hand. I had a plan with my parents to help me out. I had Leo booked into creche. You know, I had talked through everything with my husband and how we were going to like navigate it.
Yeah.
I literally had created the village and then it was wiped out. And I remember this moment, and I'm not saying struggling with your mental health, is it something you can choose? Absolutely not. But I just remember a moment of rage going, I'm not going back there. Like, that's not happening to me again. And I suppose it was in that moment when I was in the hospital, I think I had been there a few days and...
having the baby?
No, when in the psychiatric hospital. So we've gone back again now.
Okay, yeah.
And it was the realization that I was there. And for the first few days, I was probably the person in denial. I was like, I don't need to be here. I just need a bit of sleep. Like, I'll be gone in a few days. And it was the moment that hit me. And I remember literally like collapsing to the floor, bawling, crying. And one of the nurses came in and was like, you can tell us what's wrong. And I'm like, that's the problem. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know why I'm here. I just had a baby. They told me it would be the best time of my life. And here I am. And in that moment, I remember making a promise going like, if you ever get out of here, Laura, if you ever figure out why you ended up here, you have to make sure this never happens to another woman. So it was kind of in that moment when COVID hit, I was like, you're doing it now, Laura, because nobody will give you an interview for a marketing job, even though you are highly qualified and have massive experience, but you can't get an interview. Do that thing. And I had no idea what that thing was. So I just started taking mini steps and I was like, oh, I think I'll do a coaching course. What's this coaching about? Did that. I was like, maybe I can use this to support mothers. And at the time, everyone was like, no, you can't. You need to go into executive coaching. And I'm like, no, I think I'll use this to support mothers. And it went against everything that I did in my marketing career where you had a strategy and a plan. I just put like an Instagram page live one day and was like, I'll call it Mind Mommy Coaching because Leo calls me mommy, MOMMY, which is very American. And I just started talking about the stuff that I had felt and the women just started flocking, going, nobody has ever spoken about that. I feel so seen. And like the rest is history. That was like 4 years ago. I've been supporting mothers ever since.
Yeah.
I've set up the podcast Mumfessions, which again, when I went to set that up, everyone in Ireland was like, that's not really a podcast, because at the time I was just getting mums to send in voice notes. And I was like, well, you all stop telling me this is not a thing. So, you know, I had to go to London to do that because nobody was taking it seriously. So that is kind of how I pulled my life back together. Yeah. I started investing in myself. I started looking after my needs. I shifted the perspective of my needs are important. Literally, like, I am the most important person in my family. Because if I'm not okay, I can't mind them. And I think because I was at a stage where I was so unwell I couldn't function, I will never, ever be in a place again where I think my needs don't matter. Like, I am... Call me selfish, maybe. I think it's just clarity. Like, I'm the number one person in my family.
Yes. Yes. That's the key. I really think that's the key to a happy family. A happy mother is essential. It's
mothers
so
are the most important people in their family.
Yeah.
Like, we cannot, again, that's a damaging narrative that we always put our kids first. Nonsense.
Yeah.
How can you take care of your children if you are completely depleted, riddled with guilt, You can't. You have to be okay.
Yeah.
And I think everything in your life needs to be about prioritizing you and your needs.
Yeah.
And that starts with giving yourself permission.
And you're giving people permission.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
As a mum, the reality is we spend a lot of time in the car, whether that's juggling work or the kids or somewhere in between. Recently, the other mums and I from IMAGE test drove the Peugeot 3008 and 5008, and we were genuinely so impressed. They're spacious, big enough for car seats, buggies, sports equipment, and everything else you can think of, with really clever storage and innovative tech too. And they're also just really nice to drive. The 3008 SUV is a perfect mix of style and practicality, and the 5008 has all the extra space, including 7 seats if you need them. So whether you've got babies, toddlers or teens, Peugeot has thought of everything, because when life gets busy, you need a car that just gets it. And Peugeot certainly does. So Alex was born and you didn't feel, I mean, despite COVID hitting, you didn't go through the same difficulties you went through.
Now, it was still hard, the sleep deprivation, but it wasn't to the extent of what I'd navigated before. And then when Alex was 8 months old, it was the week I actually launched my business. I found out baby Anna was on the way, which was a massive surprise. And sure enough, I was like, well, do you give up on this now or do you keep going? And I was like, you keep going, Laura. And I remember being induced in the hospital and like writing content for social media. And my husband was like, you're not okay. I'm like, no, I can't give up on this now. So Anna came along and I don't even think I took maternity leave. I kept going. And for me, what I'm doing now saved me.
You found your why.
I found my why. And also it probably healed me because it allowed me to let go of the shame I was carrying, and from studying motherhood and from being in the privileged position of supporting mothers, I was never alone. Like, everyone is finding it hard.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that can give mothers hope as well. If there's anyone listening that is struggling now, if you have a second or third baby, it doesn't mean it's going to be hard again.
Yeah, that is really important to say, actually, because every baby is very different. You were a different person with each baby as well.
Yeah.
What kind of practical supports or policies even do you think were missing for you that you might introduce if you had an opportunity to?
This probably isn't answering what you're saying, but I always look at it in terms of what can we control and what can we not control. So I can't control what support the government give to mothers. I can't control policies. I can't control any of that. But what I can control is how I speak to myself.
Yeah.
And for me, it was about absolutely getting rid of that inner critic of saying, you're not a good mother, you're not doing enough, you can't put your needs first. And the reason why that's so key is when you think of our energy as mothers, like, let's be honest, we don't have time. You know, our capacity to do stuff is limited. But actually, as women, if we can shut off that inner critic, that false narrative that's saying a good mother does this, that saves so much energy. Because when that's going in the background, it's like an app running. When you're constantly criticizing yourself and going, could I be doing more? Am I doing enough? I'm not doing it right. I'm all alone. Let it go.
It's like an app running that uses up all your storage as well and all your memory.
Yeah.
Makes you exhausted.
Let it go. So like, I think that was the biggest difference for me the second time. I didn't have that. I was like, you are in your own unique bubble. There is no other mother like you. There are no rules. You do whatever you need and want. And also letting go of the comparisons, Dominique.
Yeah.
Because the social media is so damaging to our maternal mental health.
Absolutely.
And I think for me, and what I help my clients do, is the realization that there's no one else like you to compare to.
Yeah.
Like, there literally isn't. So you can't. It's about your bubble and what chapter you're in your life, and just staying true to that, because nobody else is navigating your unique circumstances. So they don't know how to navigate it.
Yeah, of course. It's a lovely way of thinking about it. And so, you know, you have your 3 kids and your business and you're flying and everything is going beautifully. And then you get your neurodivergence, 3 diagnoses, 4 diagnoses. That must have been a shock to the system, or was it a bit of a relief as well?
I think it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Like finding that out, I was filled with a lot of emotions. The first was anger. Like, how was this missed? How was I in a psychiatric hospital? And I remember telling my psychiatrist, and my husband was there because I'm like, did I dream this? Because they were like, was there any trauma? Like they're going through your whole life bit by bit. And I'm like, I can't really look people in the eye, play with my hair a lot. Like I was giving them symptoms that if you told my 9-year-old, he'd be like, you're autistic. And they were like, I wouldn't worry about it. So I felt massive anger. I felt massive sadness for little girl Laura, because I would have always felt a little bit different. I'm very good at masking. I will mask into any situation, but I never really felt like I fitted in.
Yeah.
Struggled in school a bit, wasn't great academically, just was very cruel to myself, I would say. And I think when I found that out, I was like, oh, like it's I always use this definition. My whole life I was trying to be the shiny horse.
Yeah.
I'm wondering why I had these stripes and I couldn't run like the horse and didn't look like the horse, but I was never a horse, I was a zebra. And it's like an optical illusion where you finally see it and you're like, how did we not see this? Like, it's so obvious. And I can now see it in people in 2 seconds flat if they're autistic.
Yeah.
I can see it, I can sense it. So it was the best thing that ever happened to me, but also for my kids, because I can tell Leo, you know, mommy has the magic in her brain too. And there's nothing wrong with us. You know, it's just our brains are different and there's nothing weird about you. Chew your chewy and don't ever hide your autism. Like, just do what you need to be. And yeah, I think that was the greatest gift, that if little girl Laura had known, I think I would have had so much more love and self-compassion for myself.
I feel that compassion for little Laura.
Yeah.
I you know, child work is such a powerful thing to be thinking about your inner child, especially when you're a mum.
Yeah. And that's why it exploded in motherhood.
Yeah.
Because when we become mothers, we're at our most vulnerable from a psychological perspective.
Yeah.
So even if you're someone that isn't neurodivergent, but maybe you experienced a bit of anxiety, you're going to feel that tenfold in motherhood. If you maybe subconsciously had coping mechanisms in your life, they're wiped. Yeah. So very often the women that seek my support are like, I don't know why I'm struggling so much. Yeah. And it was a light bulb moment even with a new client yesterday. I was like, but what do you need? And she couldn't answer the question. And as we kind of dove into it, I helped her identify her number one thing is control. A need for control, and that was gone. And now we're helping her to get that back. And I've kind of veered off there, my autistic brain thinking too quickly. But like it was honestly the greatest gift and validation. And I think since that moment, I think I was 36 when I found out I'm autistic, maybe 37 when I found out I had ADHD. And I just now have permission to do whatever I need and want. Like, love that. I never, and even you might notice there, my eyes are veering off.
Only marginally. And it's the masking that I think is really interesting, especially
I'm masking
women
now.
do.
I'm 100% masking
now.
What
would you do if you're fully comfortable now?
And this is the thing, Dominique. It's very hard for women because we've learned to mask to the point where we don't know how to unmask. Yeah. So your lack of self and your identity, you don't actually know who you are. And it's really hard. So I know I'm masking. I've spent my life masking because I will just like mold into whatever environment I'm in. Yeah. But like I would probably like just be looking up there now for the whole interview. But I won't do that. There. No, but I won't do that because I'm conscious of I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. And I'm used to making eye contact now.
Hard.
Yeah.
That's so hard. How do you talk to your kids about that? I mean, I know I've heard you talk about it like a superpower. Yeah. And are you explaining details like that to them? Are there schools supporting them and doing the right thing?
So Alex and Anna are probably too young, and Alex is still not speaking. So he's almost 6. Okay. He's in an autistic class. That's hard. And I want to say that because if anyone's listening with autistic kids, I don't want to pretend that, it's all rosy. It's really hard. Like nobody wants their 6-year-old to not be talking. And I've so much worry for him, but we are where we are and you take that every day. And Anna's 4, so she definitely has ADHD as well. I can't confirm it yet, but she is exactly like me. But Leo, who's 9, God bless him, he is worn out for me. How are you feeling? Tell me how you're feeling. I don't know. Okay, do you think you're angry? Do you think you're sad? We have chats every night. I am just beating it into him that you are perfect exactly as you are. Like, don't ever hide your chewy. Don't ever hide anything about yourself. That brains are different. Some people's brains are like this and other people's brains are like that. And we just have different needs. And his school are very, very supportive. Like, he's in a mainstream class, but he gets his movement breaks, all of the things he needs. But I think the education system is learning as we go now, because their perception of what autism is or what ADHD is not what it actually is.
What's their perception?
I think it's the perception, like I had before I had clarity around it, is it's a child sitting on their own in a corner or spitting something or being nonverbal or being really antisocial, or someone who's struggling academically or not meeting their milestones. And when you look at Leo, he's none of those things. Highly intelligent, met all his milestones, social butterfly, but he's neurodivergent. And I think so many people are neurodivergent and don't know because they're in that box.
Yeah. How does it show up? Educate me. How does it show up for him?
Leo and I are very similar. So I suppose how it shows up for us, and I suppose I'll talk about me, is a deep need for control.
Okay.
Like, I have to have full control over my day, organization. I'm phenomenal at organizing. It's probably why I was good at marketing. I will get very overstimulated, not with noise. Like, I'm fine at a concert, but if I'm in the kitchen and the kettle is going and the microwave beeps and then one of my kids comes in and says, "Mommy," I'll be like, "Everyone shut up."
Yeah.
Can't deal with it. I find it really, really hard to concentrate. And again, I'm autistic and I've ADHD. So I would describe it like my brain, the autistic part, in some way saves me. It's the deep need for control, organization, liking things to feel safe. Whereas the ADHD part is just chaos. So it's like a kitchen with gorgeous worktops. That's the autistic part. You open the press and there's mess. I find it really hard to concentrate. So again, I would have thought I was lazy all my life. For me to respond to an email, I could sit looking at it for an hour. Like, I just can't engage in it unless I'm interested, and then I become hyper focused and like could do a day's work in an hour. Can't regulate my emotions. So like, as you said, I won the podcast award last week from London. Massive dopamine hit.
Yeah.
I don't come down gracefully. It was an absolute crash and it was horrendous. Like, really, really tough, because there's no in between.
Okay, so you're just exhausted.
Exhausted. And that's another sign, constantly tired, because your brain is constantly going. You're overthinking everything. Did I say the right thing there? What am I doing with my arms? Like, my 4-year-old, she still naps in preschool. And I'm like, that's because she's autistic, because her little brain is going
so fast all the time.
I don't even know if I'm explaining it properly, Dominique.
No, you're explaining it so phenomenally well.
Yeah.
You're explaining it so well. And there's a lot of things, actually, there's bells ringing for me. I'm like, wow, some of that sounds familiar.
Yeah. But that's the thing, Dominique. So many women can relate to that. And I'm not saying if you experience those things, you're neurodivergent. But what I would love for you to question is, but what if I am?
Yeah.
Like, maybe I am, because maybe my idea of a neurodivergent person
is not what it really is.
Is not what it really is, because it's a massive spectrum.
And that's the thing, isn't it? That like, we all have different brains. Like, we expect everybody to be a certain way. That's ridiculous. Like, just the concept of that is mad. Of course, we're all different on that spectrum. And I don't know, how do you even feel about the word spectrum? Is that like an appropriate word to use?
Yeah. I don't really mind about the language used. I think sometimes, I get in trouble for this, I think sometimes the autistic community, we can go against ourselves. Because my goal is, particularly for mothers, drive awareness about that. What does it look like? What does it feel like? Let's start having more conversations.
Yeah.
And if you criticize someone for the language they use, is that not going against the permission to speak about it? You know, like, there's certain topics I don't talk about because I'm scared I'll offend someone, but I want to really learn about them.
Yeah.
But the barrier is, what if I use the wrong language?
Yeah.
So for me, I think it's less about the language and it's more about driving awareness and really understanding what autism is, what ADHD is, and letting people talk about it, because words are just words.
Yeah.
But it is a spectrum.
Yeah.
It is a spectrum.
And I really think, though, I'm a big believer in, if you're coming at any topic with compassion and a genuine desire to understand. I think if you slip up on language,
it's the intention.
Forgivable.
Yeah.
It's about the intention.
And the way I would describe, do I look at autism like a spectrum? Not really. You know, when your child is diagnosed, they get level 1, 2, or 3. That doesn't happen when you're an adult. And I remember asking my psychologist, what level am I on? She's like, I don't agree with the levels. Imagine you have a DJ deck. Yeah. And on the day where everything is going as you want, everything's in place, all the levers are down. You're fine. You're absolutely fine. Nobody knows. You don't even know you're autistic. You're good. And then there's another day and a few of the levers move and suddenly it's getting harder. And then there's a day where all the levers are up and you can't function. And that's the way I look at it. It's very much dependent on your environment, your support, how you're feeling.
Okay.
And there's clearly times I couldn't function. I was in a psychiatric hospital. So that's the way I look at it. It's about levers and what's actually going on in your life as opposed to, well, you fit into this box of autism, which is very clinical. Yeah. And I think that does a disservice to really looking at the needs of someone who is neurodivergent.
That's a really interesting way of talking about it, that it's depending on the day.
It's dependent on the day.
You wouldn't think of that normally. You'd think you're either in or you're out and it's all day long.
Because I hate that language, high functioning. I'm like, am I high functioning or am I just in control of my environment now? Yeah. Because I'm the best person in a crisis, ring me. But if something small changes in my day, that's the end of it.
And with the kids, are they similar? Are you able to control their environments?
And I think that's what works because I know I'm neurodivergent. I've created this bubble for us. Yeah. Like our house, some people might be listening going, that's a nightmare. So routine driven. Everything happens at exactly the same time in the same way. And it's our safe place. Like we're fine when we're at home. Like we're happy, we're fine. They have permission to do whatever they need and want. And that even comes down to food, right? So there's so much pressure now, I think, to have the perfect food. There's mornings Anna will have an ice pop for her breakfast. And I'm like, go for it, girl.
Love it.
Because I'm not going to fight that argument. And I'm trying to expose her to different foods. And they have massive sensory challenges with food. So there's no good or bad foods in our house. There's an open policy, just eat what you want. And to another mother, she might be like, you gave her an ice pop for her breakfast. I'm like, I'm not going to stress about it.
Yeah. Bigger fish to fry.
Yeah.
How lucky are they to have you?
I think they are. And I think even as an Irish woman to go, yes, they are lucky because we don't really recognize how amazing we are. But I think it is literally like, oh, don't get emotional, Laura, but it is the greatest gift I've given them. And I speak about this with mothers that the perfect mother is a myth, doesn't exist. The good mother is a myth, doesn't exist. Like there is literally theory behind this. And I'm not the mother that's into arts and crafts. I have never gone to a GA match in my life and never will. I hate bringing them swimming. Like, won't happen. I'm not always mindful or present with them. I'm leaving here and going to London for 24 hours. Anna was crying last night going, don't go again. I don't feel any guilt. But what they will always have in me is someone, I've used it off now, that will like have their back. Look at the two of us.
Gorgeous.
Like, and that's what matters. They are never ever going to question, is there something wrong with me? Am I weird? Am I different? Like, my biggest fear for them, and like, God, this is probably going deep, but like, I don't know, other mothers might be like, will they get the good job? Will they get to college? Will they get the good house? I don't care about it. As someone who has struggled with their mental health to the point I have, my biggest fear is, am I going to get a call when they're like teenagers or early 20s saying, your child's in hospital, they've harmed themselves? Like, that's deep, but that is my ultimate fear, that they will struggle with their mental health to that point. I know they will struggle with their mental health because they're neurodivergent and well, I'm their mother. So like they probably will, but I hold that every day. My goal is to keep them as happy as possible, but also equipped to navigate life because life is going to come at them. And I want them to be able to handle it and to ring me and be like, Mommy, this happened. And I'd be like, it's okay. So I know that's very deep, but your perspective shifts when you've been through what I'm through and the stuff that so many mothers worry about. And it's valid to worry about them because we've all different experiences. Yeah. Doesn't matter, Dominique. We want our kids to grow up and be resilient and navigate the world. And a wonderful psychologist once told me, we only need to parent well 30 to 50% of the time. because we need to do that in order to build children that can go into the world and navigate it.
Love that.
So yeah, that went deep there.
No, that's what we're here for, actually. And honestly, you're brilliant. I really do feel like those kids are extremely lucky to have you, because they could be in an environment that's very, very different.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
And I fought for them to get assessed, and I was told Anna wasn't, and I was like, do it again. I became mama bear. I never shout at anyone. I hate conflict, don't we all? I'm normally that's okay, but when it came to that, I was like, you are wrong, do it again. You know, with Alec, with Leo, they were like, we're not doing it. I was like, do it. Like, I'm telling you he's autistic, and I'm telling you he's ADHD. And I think as mothers, like, for anyone listening who's feeling the pressure or wondering, am I doing enough? Like, you are. Like, step back, get perspective. What's actually important? Forget about the noise and the guilt. And for the love of God, get off social media.
Oh my God, everybody, not real. Put your phones down.
Burn the phone.
I'm interested when you're saying that you said you wanted them to get tested again, and you said, you know, I know that this is what they have, because I would imagine there's some parents who are even hesitant to get tested, who might suspect but don't want to label their kids. You have this thing.
I feel very strongly about that.
Yeah, I'm sure
going
you
to
do.
get in trouble now. I think I have to be careful how I phrase this. I think if you are a parent listening and you have that fear over, I don't want to label my children, or I don't want anyone to know, you are doing a massive disservice to your child. They are autistic regardless if you put them through an assessment or not. They are going to feel different regardless. You owe it to them to let them know why. And without that why, you can't get them the support they need in school or the community. And I understand why people might be afraid of that, because I suppose there are quite negative associations with being autistic based on the stereotypical image of it. But that's not the case. Like, autistic people with ADHD were phenomenal. Some of the most intelligent people in the world are neurodivergent. And I would really urge you to seek it. Seek it. And even if you don't tell anyone, tell your child. I remember in our school, you know, the principal asking, and does Leo know he's neurodivergent? And I'm like, yeah. Like, and he was looking as in, wow. And I'm like, why wouldn't I tell him? And I really hope that has come off not as a, you should tell your child, but it's a disservice. It's a disservice to them, and they are going to be autistic regardless of whether a piece of paper says it or not. They are going to feel different. And think back to me, little girl me. I wish back in the day my parents could have said, you're autistic, Laura. It would have fundamentally changed my life.
I want to talk again about the mothers that you coach. About the, you know, hundreds, thousands of women at this stage that you've spoken to and that have kind of revealed themselves and their struggles to you. What are the most common kind of struggles that women come to you with? Themes that
First,
you see?
It's massive shame and guilt. I'm not fitting the mold of the perfect mother or the good mother. Therefore, I'm doing something wrong, and it's crippling them. Like, to the point where they are completely exhausted, can't make decisions. It's crippling them. Massive sense of feeling alone. So I'm the only one feeling this. Therefore, there's something wrong with me. And massive, massive, massive pressure to be the perfect mother, to do all the things, to do it all. We can't do it all. Doing it all is a myth. We can do some things. And I know that's probably quite broad what I'm saying, but we literally are a generation of mothers drowning in trying to do it all and feeling massive guilt and shame for not being able to achieve the unachievable. And that is the theme I see throughout, and a deep desire to take back control. So this sense of, I can't get control back. No matter what I do, I can't get the old me back. I can't get my own life back. And then again, feeling like a failure. And it's so sad, because part of what I do with them is then educating them on motherhood and matrescence and helping them understand the perfect mother is a myth. You know, the good mother is a myth. These things don't exist, and shifting the focus from care of everyone else to care of you. Like one of my clients this week, I've sent her off to go, I want you to look at your life and your world through the lens of what do I need this week? Not as what anyone else need, not how can I support them, how can I support me? That's really, really hard to do as mothers, because you have to unlearn the societal narrative of a good mother equals X, Y, and Z, and understand there's no such thing as a good mother.
I always feel like if you could get a little kind of telescope and look into every single house and see every single mother, everyone's the same. Everyone's the same. Not having time to make dinner properly, and you know, bedtime's always a disaster, and you kicking yourself because it was an hour late, and you read the story the third time when you said you wouldn't, and they ended up in your bed, and
then you're shouting mum, and you're blaming yourself, like And this is the thing, Dominique. I have now the privilege of knowing that as mothers, we all actually feel the same. And yes, there are exceptions where you might have a mother who does have it all together, but
something else is gone if that's the case.
Well, possibly, but you have to sit back and go, what support does she have?
Yes.
And like, that's amazing if you're a mother and you have it all together. Go you. Like, that is the goal. But you don't know what support someone else has. You don't know what their health is like. You don't know what their child is like. So we just need to stop trying to do it all. We need to just take a step back and go, this is unsustainable. This is making me miserable. And what do I want? Have the frozen pizza for dinner. I cut corners everywhere. Oh, Dominique, you should have seen me the last week. Like, I was in London last week. I'm back tomorrow. I have been bare minimum mothering. Bare minimum. And that's one really key thing to say, if I can. If any mother is listening and you're like dealing or struggling with guilt or the pressure to do it all or express how you're feeling, we need to differentiate between mothering and motherhood, right? And this is key. I would say I'm a mother 100% of the time. So you know the way people might say, oh, you're a part-time mother, or you're a working mother, or you're a stay-at-home mother. I hate those labels. Like, I am a mother 100% of the time. That is my identity. Just like if you get married, you become a wife. The mothering is the caregiving. That's the mental load. That's the getting up in the middle of the night. That's the lunches. And none of us are mothering 100% of the time. That doesn't happen. Then motherhood is the structure where we become a mother, like society. And I really learned a lot about this through Dr. Sophie Brock in Australia. If anyone wants to look her up, she's phenomenal. She really helped me crystallize the difference. And motherhood is the society where you join. So that's like the support that's available, the healthcare, the societal narrative, all of that stuff. So I can say I love being a mother. I find the mothering hard. I'm really frustrated with motherhood and the lack of support that's there. And when you can put it into those boxes, you can finally say, okay, I don't need to feel guilty for finding the mothering hard, because I'll always love being a mother. I'll always love my children, but that part is hard. The mental load, the doing, the sleep deprivation, and actually motherhood, I'm recognizing for where I entered motherhood, maybe I don't have the support or the same healthcare or financial status, or maybe I'm not partnered up. So again, where we enter motherhood and where that support is to us, affordable childcare, flexible working, all of those things will impact your experience of motherhood. So when you look at me, when I became a mother, I entered motherhood being autistic, having ADHD, not having access to support, not having clarity around all of the things I have now, not being offered support. The mothering was exceptionally hard because Leo had severe silent reflux. I always loved being a mother. It's just the other two boxes were unbearable.
Yeah. I'm like, bing!
See, this is part of the work I do with mothers. It's not, for the love of God, can we stop talking about self-care with mothers? We don't need a bubble bath. We don't need some fresh air. We don't need some deep breathing. We need this, Dominique. We need education around motherhood, matrescence, and how to stop striving to do it all and just reduce the pressure. That's what I'm about.
Yeah.
If one more person had told me to take a walk and take a deep breath, and actually knowing now that I'm neurodivergent, I don't do the deep breathing. It's actually, or the yoga, for me, it's distressing because you're removing all sensory input. So again, if you are a mother and you're like, I'm doing everything they told me and it's not working, well, maybe it just doesn't work for you, and that's okay. I'm going to be banned for that as well now.
No, I think that makes so much sense. I've never heard that before. Motherhood, mothering, and mother, and how different those things are.
Yeah.
The problem is so much with motherhood that we need a societal, structural rethink on how we function.
That's exactly what we were talking about beforehand. That's like government policies. That's like flexible working. That's affordable childcare.
Yeah.
That is about changing our antenatal care, which if they would just let me in there, Dominique, like, I think it needs to fundamentally shift from care of the baby to care of the mother. I think we need to be educating our girls from when they're teenagers about what happens when you become a mother, matrescence. This is how you feel. This is how you can take care of yourself. Telling them the perfect mother is a myth. Like, all of that needs to fundamentally change. If we're okay, we can mind the baby.
Yeah.
We've got that.
Yeah.
It needs to shift on its head completely, and it needs to start from when we're little girls.
And all the way back to just gender roles generally.
Yes.
And societal attitudes towards what care men and women give and how they function within society. There's a huge shift needed.
Yeah.
But I think with people like you, with courage and vulnerability and honesty, we can do that. We just need to keep talking.
And other countries are. If you look at Sweden, their model is, it's exceptional. Like, it's exceptional. Their care of the mother moves beyond health. It's community, it's structural, it's government policies. Like, even one example is maternity leave. It's 2 years shared with your partner. Like, community care for the mother, a whole different narrative around motherhood. So it is possible.
Yeah.
But I believe, I hope it's possible. And I hope when Anna becomes a mother, it will be fundamentally different. So I think we just need to keep talking about it. We need more women in government. Let me in there. Let me in there to just help you change this, because it's not working. And the reason it's not working, and not to be deep again, is suicide is still the leading cause of maternal death. Yeah. Let that sink in. It's not labour and delivery. It's not something else. It's suicide. That can change. That can fundamentally change. And they did research in Australia recently, trying to identify, mothers who were having those suicidal thoughts and maybe even acted on them and self-harmed. Why? And the number one reason, and this is what makes me so sad, is they didn't feel like they were enough, and they felt like their family would be better off. And that is why I am so passionate about going, lower the expectations. You are enough. You are doing it right. Because it's not just surface level. It's literally what's driving women to commit suicide. Like, sit with that for a minute. That's very deep. There's method to my madness and all of my talkings. It's very deep, and it's very much something that we can change if we just keep talking about it. Yeah.
My last question. What do you want your kids to learn from watching you navigate the world?
Oh God, that's a deep one. Do you know what? It's probably as simple as this. It's back to what we can control and not control. Just always give yourself permission to do what you want. Like, I know that might sound so simple.
No.
But give yourself permission to do what you want. Love yourself more than you're going to love anyone else in your life. And just don't ever feel like there's something wrong with you. I think if all of our children could be like that, well, then they can navigate life, because there's things in life we're never going to be able to control, and life will come at them. Some of them harder than others, but that's my wish for them, that they're just going to look at mommy and go, look at her go. Look at her banging on the doors and nobody answering, so she goes to London. Look at her winning podcast awards. Look at her, like, that's what I want them to see. I don't want them to go, oh, wasn't mommy great? She made all that Play-Doh with us. Because for me, that doesn't matter. I don't know if that answered it. It's deep. But yeah, just to love themselves more than they're going to love anyone else in the world.
It's beautiful. Laura Guckian, thank you so much for joining me today. You've been beautiful, amazing guest.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And sorry if I rambled. That's my neurodivergent brain. We went up, we went down, we went in around, we did cry, we did laugh. That's motherhood, Dominique.
Yeah. Thank you, Laura. Give me a hug. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you enjoyed this episode, please do go and tell all your friends about us. It helps us reach new women. You can also go and visit image.ie where there's lots more information, and you can hear about all of our upcoming Motherload events there too.
And of course, a big thank you to the brands that make Image the Motherload possible. Image the Motherload is powered by Peugeot and sponsored by Liffey Valley, Avoca, Revive Active and Optimal Advanced.
Thank you so much for listening as always, and I will talk to you soon.